So it's time for our next session. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Mutaz Jaber and Dr. Emma Hughes. So Dr. Jaber is currently a pharmacometrician at Gilead Sciences, while also serving as an adjunct faculty member at University of Minnesota. He earned his PharmD from Jordan University at Science and Technology. Following that, he received PhD and postdoc training in pharmacometrics and minor in computational statistics from University of Minnesota. He co-authored and authored more than 40 original research, including more than 10 conference abstracts. His research is focusing on understanding and quantifying uncertainties in pharmacometrics, nonlinear mixed effect models. When asked about his hobbies, he say he likes the playground more than playing with his son. So fun fact. And then Dr. Hughes received her bachelor's degree in chemistry from Mount Holyoke College and PhD from University of California at San Francisco in their pharmaceutical sciences program, where she worked in Dr. Savic's pharmacometrics group, where her research is focused on building PBPK models for infectious disease in special population. She currently works as a pharmacometrician at Gilead Sciences. She enjoys playing with her poodle in her free time. Let's welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for this amazing introduction. Before we start, I think we should give a round of applause for all the speakers for those 2 days. It's been really amazing. So for all speakers, and John did set the bar so high in his speak. So let's see how that will go. We're gonna talk about different things in this workshop. It's 2 parts. It's what is literal programming and what is Quarto. And we're gonna separate this workshop into 3 different elements. We're gonna talk about the concept, and then we're gonna have a hands-on session, which is gonna be a live demo. I know it's because of the time constraint, we have 1 hour to go as much. And at the end, we're gonna talk more about customization and how we can really dig deep down into Quarto and where to look for information if we need information. Our emails is here, so probably if we didn't have time, you can always reach out. And the material is gonna be, it's already on GitHub. So this is the link for that. This is not the first time you're gonna see Quarto here at CTSI. Is Ryan here? Probably not here, but yesterday I liked his slides because it was also generated in Quarto. And this is one of the examples you can use it in real world, right? So before we start, we should give credit. And the credit is due to people that helped us a lot during our career and learning Quarto and trying to get out there and to sell Quarto, right? So Devin did have a lot of mentoring about how to learn Quarto and to learn how to reference it, to customize it. And he did have a lot of inputs on this presentation. Anna Ruiz for all of her support, and the one and the only, Nieves. Thank you for all your support for this. And of course, CTSI staff and members, thank you all for sponsoring this workshop. And there's regular disclosure. We are not affiliated with Posit, which is interestingly, it is the new name for our studio company. It's called Posit now. We are not affiliated in any way with them, and we are not a developer for Quarto. We are just interested in it, and we want to provide information and instruction how to use this software. Also, anything we say here on our views are our own. Gilead Sciences does not have any interest in this. Okay, I like to start not where the story begins, but start before the story begins. And here it starts with Donald Knuth. Donald Knuth is the father of computer algorithm and literal programming. He coined this term, literal programming, in his paper, I think 1980 or before, actually before that. So when Donald Knuth said, or his vision was that you can combine source code and documentation together, which is so it's at least more human readable. So if you created a program, you don't have to write your documentation alone and your source code alone. But why not to combine both of them together? And that was his mission, or at least vision for literate programming. But that's not only the use for literate programming. He later on developed TIC, and it's known now as LaTeX, which is very word processing engine. But yeah, this is methodology was first developed because of the programming and how to combine source code with documentation. But let's think about what would be the application of literate programming in scientific research and reproducibility and analyzing and sharing our results. So beyond documentation, literate programming can be benefit in education, research, and really various technical domains. So just brief examples, we can do math scripts, technical reports, academic theses, documentation, class materials, and many other like blogs, websites. All of those can be really an application for literature programming, and that can make reproducibility much, much easier. And you will have an eye candy document, which is good. We use it at Gilead again, and I know some of the industry standard they use Quarto to reproduce their pharmacometric reporting, and that's going to make life easier. Here's just 3 examples how we use it. We use it in our report, pharmacometrics report that goes to the agencies. We use it in a slideshows. We also, this is introduction to Quarto that was from ACAP last year. And again, as I was telling Sam about it today, 8 hours wasn't enough for Quarto, but 1 hour should be. Okay, this is Quarto. So we are starting to do crafting, and this is where how we can use Quarto. Quarto is really a formatting where you will have, if you look at this, the second one in the right-hand side figure here, you can see there is a folio, there is Quarto, and there is Octavo. Quarto is where it's four-sided. You cut it by half, and then you bind it together. So that's what is Quarto, and that's motivated Posit to name it. I think it appears way, way back. And if you look at the first Quarto edition of Shakespeare, Midsummer Night Dreams, it was in the 1600s. But this is not the Quarto we will learn today, unfortunately. We will learn something called modern Quarto, and that's Quarto that is used for scientific and technical publishing system. I like this statement that they put it on their website: analyze, share, reproduce. And this is really the motto for most of our research, how we can analyze the data, we should share the data, and we should be able to reproduce the data, because without reproducibility is not a good quality science. And especially in our quantitative sciences, we need to reproduce this, specifically when we are talking about simulations, if there's any stochastic elements, or most of really research should be reproducible, or at least all of it. But this statement, I think it does have a very important concept in scientific domain. And also, Stacy, we need to share our stories, right? That's the goal as well. As a scientist, we should be able to share our stories with the scientific methods. So really what I want by the end of this workshop to have a mental model. How do Quarto work, or at least how literate programming works? So if we think about Quarto workflow, we start with a text, a plain text. We will have some documentation, human readable language, and we will have some source code for any program you want. We push it to something called knitter. which is an engine that converts some of the code into documentation, and it's known for R Markdown. Have anyone used R Markdown before, by the way? Okay, that's a good number. So we will see what's the differences and how Quarto is overcoming some of the issues with R Markdown. So we will, oh, I'm not sure what happened, but so after knitr, we will have a markdown document, which is a markdown is a simple text, plain text files that goes to Pandoc, and that's where the magic happens. In addition to Pandoc, there's something called Lua. Lua is the really is a programming language that does have a superiority in dealing with filters with Pandoc. After we get that, we will have different formatting. Either if you want it as a report, you want it as a presentation, projects like website, blogs, all of those ability can be done in Quarto, and it's not only Word doc, PDF, HTML. You can expand it beyond those file system. So what about R Markdown? How can that, what's the benefit of Quarto over R Markdown? Because if we think about R Markdown workflow, it's similar. We have our Markdown file, we have knitr that goes to Markdown, Pandoc, and voila, we will have all these for a formatting system. But the interesting thing for Quarto is that Quarto was developed to be independent. It is not version 2 of R Markdown. It's separate software that have the ability to deal not only with R programming language. It can deal with different programming languages such as Python, Julia, JavaScript, and you can also create some of your engine that can deal with other programming language. So it's more flexible. It does have more customization to be done for it. And it's dramatically better based on their developer. So, and again, it's their batteries included for whatever for R Markdown there. And again, Quarto was developed based on 10 years of experience or whatever they learned from R Markdown, they put it in Quarto. So yeah, Quarto for everyone. If you don't like R, you like Python, that's it. You have it. If you like to code in Julia, you also have it. So it's for everyone. So if we think about Quarto, it's really just a command line interface. R Markdown do have a lot of dependency on R. If you want to use R Markdown, you need to have an R, right? But Quarto is not. So because of, I don't want it to be a lecture, so it's going to be more of a tutorial. So I'm going to jump in now to the Quarto website to show how we can install it and work with it on the run. So if we go to, let's see, quarto.org, which is also in the second slide. I did add the link for it. And their website is really heavy documented. There's a lot of the stuff you can find in there. Probably not everything, not all their ability is on the website, but most of the things that you need or to do your job, it's there. You can start by getting started and download Quarto CLI based on your platform system. Again, if it's Mac OS, Windows, or Linux, they do have for different abilities. And it is a CLI. So whenever you install it and if you're using RStudio, you can start using it in RStudio. And I highly recommend always download the latest release for it, unless it's a closed environment. But they keep updating it, and I think it reached a maturity level that it could be, it's not breakable at this point. Yeah, I'm gonna move back slide. Just this is just the regular way of how we can install it and use it. So with the CLI interface here, we can see the commands. There is a lot of those commands that it does have a different view of a document, because it takes the command. It takes, like, you started with Quarto, executing Quarto. You start with executing their command and the file you need to do something with it, in the nutshell. Again, this is how you can install Quarto. You can go to this website, download this big blue button, and it should be set up to be used. If you have an R Studio, it's going to also make it easier for you to render any document you have. So this is really just the basic vanilla Markdown or Quarto document. For who used R Markdown before, it's going to be very familiar. It's probably few stuff that is changing in terms of code chunks. We start with metadata anatomy, or AKA YAML header here. Emma will talk more about those elements, but overall, we try to separate them with 3 dashes up and down, and these elements that really controls the document setting. So whatever you want to achieve in this document, you can control it by passing the metadata here. So it could be document information. It could be formatting, like, for example, from PDF to HTML to presentation to reporting. So all these information can be fed into the YAML header. And if we move forward here, that's called code chunk. The code chunk here is where you add your source code, your program code. And it does have contain the label for it, and that is your references. Whatever, if you want to reference it in the text later on that refers to this code chunk, you can do it by the label itself. We can talk more about it later. Chunk options can also give you the appearance if you want to include this source code or just execute it, but let it disappear. For example, in pharmacometrics reporting or population PK reporting, we don't have to include the code for everything, right? Like probably how you did your analysis, but overall, it should be like we do the rendering inside it, but it doesn't have to be appearing in the system itself or in the document. And it does have the source code. So if you look at down where we start with the library, here's your source code or your program code to achieve the goal for your analysis. And we have now a markdown text that both human readable and